China cracking down on anyone who strays from the party line. Social credit score system which would rank its citizens based on their behavior.
A major threat to long-term freedom in every sense of the word.
With the growing threat from adversaries, including China, the pressure is increasing to take a more aggressive approach to advanced technologies, including AI. But there are ethical concerns.
Trying to purify society by rewarding those who are trustworthy and punishing those who are not.
And people with low scores, they're meant to be able to actually just restrict people to their homes.
China's social credit system, which we are rushing to imitate, that's a major threat to long-term freedom in every sense of the word. That's a dreadful fascist intervention, and I say fascist because it involves the union of the state and media and the technocratic apparatus, and that's definitely a huge threat to us. China has devolved in many ways on the political front over the last 5 or 6 years. We were hoping that integrating China into the Western economy would produce a certain liberalization on their part, and to some degree that's happened. And certainly that's addressed the problem of poverty in China, which was a very good thing, but the Chinese are not our allies, and we're very foolish in the West to allow ourselves to become fractured. I think it's a catastrophe that we didn't integrate Russia into NATO when we had the opportunity, because we had the opportunity and we squandered it. And that was a big mistake, and God only knows what we're going to pay for that. I'm very nervous about the fall because the food front looks dismal, and the best projections I've encountered suggest that 150 million people will be hungry by the fall, and that'll mean mass migration into Europe, minimum, apart from the deaths, which fall particularly heavily on children in all likelihood. So yeah, we've got a mess on our hands. And then, you know, everyone seems to be fiddling while Rome burns. The Biden Democrats are occupied with the most preposterous idiocies that can possibly be imagined at the moment, when there's this terrible occurrence on the international front that could pull us all in. We seem to be doing everything we can to be pulled in. And yeah, well, what's happening is that I think because of the disproportionate effect of a tiny minority of people, probably amplified by social media, the acceptable political landscape, I guess they call that the Overton window, has shifted tremendously to the left. So for example, in Canada, this is also a policy issue. The Liberals are farther left than the Socialists were 10 years ago in terms of their policies and their pronouncements. And so that's left a lot of people who would have been on the center now uncomfortably straddling the divide between liberal and conservative. And you definitely see that reflected in people like Russell Brand and Bill Maher. Brand has got a pretty vicious libertarian streak, and that mitigates against some of his more leftist ideas. And Maher just seems to be waking up finally. When the politicians get out of politics and start infringing on basic rights, which are theologically founded, they're no longer political. And at that point, as far as I'm concerned, people have an ethical obligation to step forward. I have lots of friends and colleagues on the left and the right. And I've been working with the left for a long time, especially with the Democrats in the US, to pull the Democratic Party to the center. And we've had some success with that, although the Democrats will not, they refuse to draw a line delimiting their moderation from the radicals. They will not do it. Now, part of that's a technical problem. It's hard to determine when the left goes too far. I have one suggestion. When you're expressing the sentiment that your tolerance and compassion requires the surgical mutilation of minors, that's when you've gone too far, definitely. I also think you've gone too far when you trumpet equity as a virtue. But the dividing line is difficult, and the Democrats won't draw it. And that's because they think they need the radicals for electoral victory and because they're afraid of being mobbed. And those are both fears. But the left, people on the left, I've tried to get them to communicate with people on the right, and vice versa. The people on the right will always talk to everyone on the left, and the people on the left will frequently refuse flat out to talk to people they regard as their political enemies. And then you add to that the fact that the institutions of higher education in particular are 100% captured by the left. There are no Hillsdale colleges. Like, where are the conservative educational establishments? Oh, there's Hillsdale College. Yeah, it's like one, and they're thriving, by the way. And so no, it's not an equally divided polarization, not in my estimation. And the ideas that threaten us are this pathological combination of postmodernism, which has its virtues, by the way, and a default Marxism that's pulled in to fill the philosophical gaps left by the nihilism of postmodernism. Trump has many problems. One is he should have never declared that he was illegally defeated after the last election. It's an off-brand claim. Trump is a winner. That's his brand, right? And winners don't have the election stolen from them by losers. And so I think he made a catastrophic strategic mistake, as well as, and it's also the case that his claims have really failed to be supported by the relevant evidence. They've been tried in many courts. He's got a bullying tendency that I would diagnose, so to speak, as about 9 to 11 years old. He makes self-aggrandizing, bombastic claims that to me are reminiscent of a juvenile bully, and he's a divisive figure. And so, no, I hope the Republicans have enough sense to go with someone who's a more mainstream politician, and that they're guided by a vision of what could be instead of a mere reaction to the idiocies of the woke and progressive left.